Just 8 years ago or 10 years ago, when I explained that I used to work in MasterCard, my own parents, who are obviously educated, used to say, but what is MasterCard? And I was like, what's going on, man? So the legitimacy of working in payments, like my entire life journey, has actually shockingly changed in the last 2 years, where I don't need to explain what I do. Because the minute they think India, they just know your UPI. They don't even ask you anything else.
Let's talk about your PayPal journey a little bit. Tell me some stories around that time.
So actually in PayPal, I only worked on global products. So I'm probably one of those only people who never worked on India except for a failed product, which I'm very proud of, which was PayPal India. So it was a passion project that we created. So PayPal has domestic and it has international websites. Guys, we're talking about the time where a mobile app didn't exist. There are only websites. That is how people used to make payments. Again, I know it seems like almost prehistoric times, but a website was your main landing page. So at that particular point in time, the idea of a cross-border payment was that India is a highly regulated market. So you have to open it up. And we basically created what I call PayPal Local and PayPal International at that point. And we had it in wired off stage, which means that it was never available to the local public. And then there were a lot of legal and other ramifications around it. PayPal did launch after that. I'm talking about the times where when the iPhone was launched, all of us had an iPhone, which was basically an iPod, which turned into an iPhone. And then we were developing products where you could basically just bump an iPhone. This is actually literally true. You can actually Google it up, but you can bump an iPhone to make a payment. Those are the days of payments that we are talking about. Everybody did not have 4G, 3G, 2G. It was not that. We used to work with Blackberries. But at that point in time, the ability to be able to make a payment from me to somebody who's sitting in a different country across 180 countries, just the concept is wild. And those are the times that have actually set us up in a stage today where we're talking about cross-border payments happening in seconds. So when you go to Singapore and you go to the airport, you can make a payment with UPI in a second.
Singapore is allowing that?
Yes.
Now, as far as I know and my knowledge goes, the UPI, the conversation that we started with, India was a pioneer in that, and very few countries actually allow you to do that now. Now the game has changed properly. Now you can tell them that how can you don't have a UPI when I do it, when I do have it.
True.
So how does that transformation happen in India?
So I think the credit for this will have to go to NPCL. But I'll have to correct you here. Actually, VocaLink, which is UK, had faster payments as we see it. We used to call it faster payments. Sounds like a history lesson right now. But faster payments actually meant where you can make instant payments. The concept of instant payments didn't exist. So all of you now who are like, why hasn't my payment gone through? I wish I could take you back to the days. In fact, I should take you back to the America right now. It takes more than 3 days for a payment from one bank to another bank sometimes. They charge you $50. So I made a $5,000 payment for something, $50. Here when we pay for, I've paid 15 rupees and 10 rupees NEFT charges. Has anybody paid for charges using their bank account? Never, right?
I did.
You did. Only you're an old man.
Yeah, a bit.
Yes. So we are talking about those days where now with UPI, so actually UK was the first one, but the credit goes, the entire platform was developed in 2016. What you're seeing today has happened because of a strategy to do two things. Number one, the government has been extremely strong in pushing digitization. And what you see right now is the culmination of efforts by a platform-led approach along with great government intervention. And all of you who are sitting in the room, because you're very young. So our sub-30 population is more than 50%, which means that all of us have actually become mobile first by generation who have never seen. So the first connect to the internet is through a mobile phone. So Asia and including Southeast Asia are some economies where people will have first interacted with the internet through a payment instrument. Like in our case, it's Aadhaar. It's not a payment instrument, but it can be. It's a sub-payment instrument. So when you go to UPI, all the major VC-funded firms and some very private players basically put the might behind where they made UPI so available to you and at zero cost that you basically adopted and moved away from cash. So now the whole concept of paying with cash doesn't exist. Even your pan and panwadi wala has UPI. And I think that is the major achievement of our country, that we have seen from being a nation of snakes and cows and donkeys on the road. Now when I go out, people just think two things. Number one, technology, India, CEOs, that's become synonymous with us. And second, payments. Just 8 years ago or 10 years ago, when I explained that I used to work in MasterCard, my own parents, who are obviously educated, used to say, but what is MasterCard? And I was like, what's going on, man? So the legitimacy of working in payments, like my entire life journey, has actually shockingly changed in the last 2 years, where I don't need to explain what I do. Because the minute they think India, they just know your UPI. They don't even ask you anything else. Like, there doesn't exist anything outside of UPI in India, it seems. So that's how this journey has been.
So MasterCard was at what point in your life? So PayPal happened, you worked there for good 5-6 years, I feel.
Actually, 8 years.
8 years. And then MasterCard happened for you. Were you stationed in India only and MasterCard happened? How did that transformation journey happen? It's the same kind of a space that you are going into probably, but you were developing something else for MasterCard from now.
That's right. So MasterCard happened at a time where I was very clear that first I wanted to build for India, because as a product manager, I hadn't really done anything for India except a failed product. And the second was, at that time, it was 2014, so the elections were happening. And actually, as luck happens, a lot of what my journey in MasterCard started off with the day the election results were declared. And I look at it as a pretty pivotal piece in my career journey. But I wanted to join a company which has two things. Number one, it had the might and the experience, and they had an opportunity called India, which was at the helm of everything that they were doing. And since that time, when MasterCard has they've invested hugely in India. It's a huge opportunity size still. And right from data centers all the way till having a CEO who happens to be Indian, it's always been a game where India is going to be one of the strongest countries for them in the Asia region, which actually has come through. So when I started, again, I was lucky that we were part of the demonetization cycle, where suddenly from cards, it actually completely, there was a hockey stick curve in terms of adoption of credit and debit on the other side, which was digital, which is e-payments. We used to call it e-payments, because electronically paying is different from just withdrawing and using your ATM card to take out money. And we've seen the journey where suddenly India took first to e-commerce and then to POS. So we forget about the time then. And there's been a lot of changes that happened. Number one, Jio happened. So everybody had the internet. Second, WhatsApp happened. And people don't give WhatsApp that much credit. But do you remember the time where we used to think about the number of internet users in India as a number of WhatsApp users? Can you believe that? Now we have a lot of data, and the government releases a lot of data in terms of broadband and fixed. But we've come to a point where rural India is growing more than urban India. That's what time this is. But
when you're saying growing, you're talking about
internet.
The adoption of it?
Adoption of internet. Did you know that rural India is actually growing at a faster rate than urban India in terms of internet adoption? So this is crazy. Like, imagine the number of people who are not language speakers like us, who are accessing the internet as a point of, or a medium where their entire life experience is based on what they're seeing today. And imagine us, where our life experiences have been more shared because of physical experiences. They've not seen physical. They're living in an internet world. So this payments journey and this major inflection point has happened because of Jio. I would say WhatsApp adoption, because it suddenly became very trustworthy to be on a WhatsApp and somebody sending you a message and you're sending them a shopping list, and this has become pervasive. And then demonetization. Demonetization just changed the game. And after that, then we've seen this huge influx of two things. Number one, lot of capital. So by the way, I'm sure everybody knows, but fintech is one of the biggest startup verticals in India. Attracts the most funding after e-commerce. E-commerce is it's a no-brainer. But fintech is huge. So these two things happened, and then the culmination of all of that is the likes of Paytm, which made QR ubiquitous. The likes of PhonePe, which had that super app concept completely done and dusted with in a very successful way. And then the likes of Google Pay, which have become case studies in terms of how do you keep users engaged. So it's become like a growth vertical. The growth vertical and that expansion started with all of this.
I'm going to talk a little bit about Google Pay and Paytm, right? Because probably, how many of you guys use both of these apps? All of them. So it gives you a sample size of,
yes.
How they are
yes.
so important for these people. What did they do different? One, and I'm talking from a very layman perspective, right? Tell me why I got hooked to a Paytm or Google Pay?
It's a product concept called PLG. No, I'm
PHE.
PLG. So product-led growth. So at least Google Pay qualifies for that. But Paytm did one thing very well. Number one, they were the first movers. So they actually spent a lot of money to make people understand two things. Number one, that first payments can happen without cash, which means QR became pervasive. You could see Paytm QR everywhere. And the second thing was safety. Now, I know it sounds like a foreign concept, but today you don't think about a pin, right? It's natural for you to say, ki pin hai, to I'm safe. But we're going back to the time where an OTP used to come in and people used to say, Arey, OTP aa gaya, something will happen. So that education that needs to happen was actually, I would say that a large part of that happens to be the first players, which is Paytm, MobiKwik, Freecharge, which actually made payments happen because they gave an incentive to users to first sign up and then to keep using. And the one thing is that payments is a habit as well. Like today when I come in, he asked me, how did you pay? For me, it's a natural thing. I don't even think about it. Like I have literally 0 rupees in my bag. So it's not a habit for me to keep cash. Paytm made that happen. And then when demonetization happened, our government has actually done very good things in the background, which people tend to not understand. But again, payment people will. They made QRs ubiquitous with interoperability, which literally means I can pay with a Paytm on the same QR as I could with a MobiKwik or a Google Pay or any others. Now, imagine if you go to any other Southeast Asian country like I did, you'll have 10 POS, which is physical machines. You have 5 QRs. Singapore is known for like 10 QRs on every single shop. Like we have Panwadis, they have their local hawker stores. And you're like, what's going on, man? Because we are coming from India where you have one and it works. And you're like, where should I pay? So India has leapfrogged into that. And as far as Google Pay is concerned, we forget what they have done. But essentially, they created this growth loop. So I had Google Pay and I wanted to pay you. And then I know I'll get 50 rupees. And then you paid somebody else and you'll get another 100 or 1,000. I don't know how. And then they did these scratch cards. So scratch cards have become like a case study by themselves. And this entire behavior where we've gone from incentivizing payments with cashbacks, which is money, to the point that you get some cashbacks, but in terms of scratch cards, to now merchant vouchers, has all been because of Google Pay, Paytms, and all the rest, of course, digital players, trying to incentivize loyalty and then rewarding good behavior with this.
Who's the market leader in this segment? PhonePe, I guess.
PhonePe.
Right? And
more than
50%. Correct. If I have to ask you, PhonePe came up when 2-3 players were already there in the market, right? How did they find their space? So somebody probably now looking to build something, a product, right? How they become the next PhonePe?
So I think with PhonePe, Sameer has been quite transparent in his journey. First, he took a bet on an anti-bet, which is he didn't want to go into the wallet space. So wallets are almost dead in India. That has gone through its own evolution cycle. That was the first bet he took, and he was the earliest mover on UPI with the Yes Bank integration and everything. So I think while Google Pay also did the same thing, their strategy is very different, and we are going into technical details. But I feel PhonePe got the super app concept right, and they kept innovating on a couple of things, which is how do I make my app so usable and so user-friendly, at the same time useful. Now, useful is different from user-friendly, which is I never need to think about what I need to find an app for. I can pay my cab, I can pay my bills, I can pay, for my bill here for food, and I never need to think. So I think that strategy worked out very well for them. They're also the first movers in embedded finance, what you call the insurance and other things, which they did very well first. Paytm has other things that they've done well, and I think you can't compare the strategies because both are very different.